lot of people, not a lot of fighters in that weight class or in the lighter weight class that has the kind of oppressive power that he does. You know, and I know this was a mandatory. It wasn't one of the big names, but professionals take care of business. You know, and you know he was favored. He came in, he took care of business. He's not messing around with this guy for 8 rounds, 10 rounds. He comes in, takes care of business, goes straight to the point, and that's why people love Gervonta.
Showtime has done a great job in developing a young champion, Gervonta Davis. Everybody wants to know what's next with Gervonta. One thing I can say is, for September, the Mexican Independence Day, Canelo have to vacate it. Leo Santa Cruz made it vocal. He wants Tank maybe possibly that day take over. Is that something you guys will flirt with it? Like,
no, look, we'd love to have that conversation. You know, it was a conversation we couldn't have until tonight, because if this fight went a number of rounds, there's no way that Tank's turning around and fighting, you know, in basically 6-7 weeks. It's a 1.5 round fight. You know, maybe it's a conversation to be had. But Tank is, you know, coming along at the right speed. He's developing. You know, he wants Tevin Farmer, and he wants unification fights. You know, and if that fight can't happen, if other unification can't happen, then we'll just keep it moving. He's obviously a big draw. He's signed a lot of tickets. Had the town very excited, and you know, and he's going to turn around quick. We're going to keep him busy.
This week in boxing has been very controversial. We lost a lot of great people, boxers, unfortunately, 2 individuals, and then we had the Dillian Whyte. Now, known you for maybe a year and a half covering Showtime and yourself, well job again. What do you think about all that situation? And as Stephen Espinoza, the CEO of sports, would allow that to happen in regards to what happened in Whyte, and they still allowed him to fight Rivas? Like, what do you think about that situation?
Well, look, in terms of, you know, the 2 deaths this week, that it's obvious tragedies. You know, in hindsight, there's always things that, you know, people can try and say that should have been done and could have been done. In reality, you give credit to Buddy McGurk for stepping in when he did. I think there's a lot of you know, fighter trainers and corners who maybe wouldn't have done that, but he did it. But obviously, you know, it was too late. That's not Buddy's fault. But the reality is, there's that is a risk of the sport.
Correct.
You know, it's a reality that we all have to live with, and none of us as fans like it. But it's something that cannot be eliminated. You know, this sport is inherently risky and dangerous. It's a tragedy that happens. We try to do everything we can to minimize it when it happens. But you know, that is the risk of this sport. In terms of what happened over in the UK, look, I think there's a lot of layers to this thing. The rules are what they are. The policies are what they are.
Correct.
So, you know, whatever happened in terms of clearing him, you know, it should be clear. He wasn't cleared. He was allowed to fight. There's a big difference between being cleared. You know, if you're cleared, you're not subject to suspension. You're not subject to a further investigation. There is a further investigation happening. That means he's not clear. So people need to stop using the word clear. And promoters need to stop using the word clear. Because he wasn't clear. He was permitted to fight on a technicality. And I think we all agree, all reasonable people agree, that this procedure, this policy is flawed. If someone tests positive, they should not be fighting without the opponent knowing and making a choice. This is the situation here. There was a Showtime fight a while back. You know, Eric Morales
and Danny Garcia.
Okay. Positive test. It was, you know, in Morales' view, contaminated meat, just as I believe Dillian is probably eventually going to say that it was a tainted supplement.
Correct.
But what happened? Angel and Danny Garcia were informed, and they made the choice to go forward with the fight. You know, everyone knew about it, and that's, I think, all that really you need. So I know there's a lot of people passing the buck, pointing the finger, saying, you know, this, that, and the other. The reality is we all need to be reasonable human beings, not defend, you know, our position and make sure we don't look bad. The reality is anybody who's a boxing fan who loves the sport, loves the fighters in the sport, knows that this is a bad policy. There is no excuse for this to happen. It needs to be changed. There should not be a situation where a fighter is going into a fight, his opponent has tested positive, and he's allowed to fight without the knowledge going like this. I know there are policies and procedures, and there are things that could have happened on this fight, but it needs to be changed. And part of the problem right now is people defending what happened and saying that it's okay, because it's not.
Okay. Lastly, I'm gonna let you go with this. Any update, Wilder, Ortiz? I know you can't mention the exact venue, but can you give us options of possible venues that you guys are interested in to have that fight? Because that's a humongous fight, and is that fight a pay-per-view worthy?
It will be a pay-per-view fight, my understanding. You know, it's not necessarily Showtime yet. We're working on a deal. I expect that it will be. You know, we've been in the Wilder business a long time.
Loyalty, he said,
and, you know, he's a loyal guy. And, you know, we've grown together from Showbox to this point. So, you know, what I've heard, you know, there are really only, you know, 3 possibilities. It's you know, he's got a good home at Barclays. He did really well in Staples. You know, in a big heavyweight fight, there's always going to be in the running to be in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So I think it's October, November, which means it's going to get announced, you know, pretty quickly.
Really soon. Okay.
And, you know, I think in the big picture, I think you have to give Deontay credit. You know, he had the two toughest fights of his career in Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury, and he's given them both rematches right away. So you can't say that he's not jumping right into the fire.
Thank you for your time, Steven. Thank you again. What a
All right,
great
you
night.
got
I
it.
hope to see you soon. Another Showtime event.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
Steven.